Bullies forced a quiet girl to drink toilet water, but what she did next shocked everyone. It was the kind of silence that hurt more than screams. The hallway echoed with laughter, but not the joyful kind. It was cruel, sharp, the kind that lingered long after it had faded. In a dingy corner of the school's second-floor restroom, a trembling girl knelt beside a toilet bowl as a trio of students loomed over her. Her long black hair veiled her face like a curtain of shame, shielding her from the eyes that would never defend her. Her name was Elira. And that day, they forced her to do the unthinkable. Humiliated, broken, and trembling, she did as she was told, because no one ever stood up for her. But what they didn't know, what no one saw coming, was how that moment, so vile, so cruel, would awaken something in her soul so powerful, it would change everything. Before we dive deeper into Elira's journey, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of rising above cruelty, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Storystorm for more emotional and powerful stories. Elira Monroe had always been the quiet one. At 12, she was a soft whisper in a world that never stopped shouting. Her clothes were plain, her books worn at the edges, and her lunchbox often empty. After her father died in an accident 3 years ago, her mother worked double shifts to afford their one-bedroom apartment. Elira never complained. She walked to school in second-hand shoes, kept her head low, and sat in the back of the class, scribbling poems in a dog-eared notebook, her secret world where pain dissolved into rhyme. But in middle school, invisibility wasn't a shield. It was a target. Mackenzie Sloan. The girl with glittery nails, flawless hair, and a tongue sharper than razors had made Elira her favorite victim. To Mackenzie, Elira's silence was weakness. To her followers, Tessa and Brielle, it was fun. They mocked her silence, tore pages from her poetry notebook, dropped spoiled milk into her locker, and spread cruel rumors online. But on that day, the day Elira was cornered in the restroom, the bullying turned venomous. They said it was a dare. They said no one would believe her. They jeered, laughed, and filmed as she hesitated, crying silently. No teachers came. No friends appeared. Because Elira had none. And so, shaking like a leaf in a storm, she obeyed. The cold, sickening act wasn't just about the water, it was about her dignity, her humanity, crushed under designer sneakers and posted for likes. They left her there, whispering that if she told anyone, the next time would be worse. She didn't go to class that afternoon. Instead, she sat alone in the library behind the dusty bookshelf near the back window. And cried. 4 hours. But in the depths of that pain, something stirred. A flicker. A flame. Not rage. Not vengeance. But a question: why? Why did they hate her? Why did they find joy in her suffering? And more importantly, why had she allowed them to define her worth? That night, she looked in the mirror at her tear-stained face and whispered to herself for the first time, no more. She didn't tell her mom. She didn't cry again. Instead, she began to write. And not just poems, she wrote everything. Every moment, every word they hurled, every injustice, every humiliation. She filled journals. Her pain poured onto paper like rain in a thunderstorm. But she didn't stop there. The next day, she did something she had never done: she volunteered in class. Her voice was small, but she spoke. Students turned, surprised. Some laughed. But her teacher, Mr. Langdon, noticed. He smiled gently and asked her to stay after class. And for the first time, someone listened. When she left that room, something had changed. Mr. Langdon encouraged her to join the school's upcoming creative writing competition. She didn't think she could. But he insisted. The next few weeks, Elira stayed late at the library, scribbling drafts, erasing doubts, rewriting hope. She poured her heart into a short story, one about a young girl, abandoned and bullied, who found her strength through words. It was raw, painful, beautiful. When she submitted it, she didn't expect anything. But 2 weeks later, her name was announced as the winner. She was called to the auditorium stage. It was the first time many of her classmates truly saw her. The principal shook her hand. Mr. Langdon beamed. But most surprising was the silent gaze of Mackenzie Sloan, who sat 2 rows back, her smirk now faded. Elira stood at the podium. Her hands trembled. But her voice did not. She read her story aloud. Every word struck like lightning, bold, truthful, unforgettable. She didn't name names. She didn't need to. The power of her story didn't come from revenge, it came from resilience. From grace. From quiet strength that had grown louder than all the cruelty. The audience fell silent, then erupted in applause. A few teachers wiped their eyes. And even some students, those who had once laughed, now stood in awe. But what shocked everyone most came weeks later. The video from the restroom, once buried in private group chats, surfaced anonymously. It was shared not to shame Elira, but to expose the truth. The school launched an investigation. The bullies faced disciplinary action. Mackenzie's parents were called. Her popularity vanished overnight. But Elira, she rose. A local journalist read her story and published an article titled "The Girl Who Wrote Her Way Out." It went viral. Soon, Elira was invited to speak at youth conferences, podcasts, and school panels about bullying, healing, and finding one's voice. And each time she spoke, she wasn't just healing herself, she was healing others. She became a quiet force for change, her courage lighting a path for those too afraid to speak. Years later, Elira would publish her first book, a memoir titled "Beneath the Silence." On the dedication page, she wrote, "To every child who has been broken, your scars are not the end of your story. They are the beginning." If this story touched your heart, made you reflect, or gave you hope, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs strength, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Storystorm for more stories that heal and inspire. Special request, please comment below what this story meant to you, and if you've ever seen or experienced bullying, your voice matters. Let's lift each other up.